gamers and action figure fans, it's the one and only optibotimus coming to you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 529 of the 1/6 scale Thanos from Avengers Endgame. That's right, for Hot Toy releases, we are in the end game. Did you see what I did there? For the package, obviously Thanos is a very large figure, so the package is fairly large. You got an absolute gorgeous image of him there. I can't tell if that's the CGI image of Thanos or if that's the figure, because it looks that damn good. Of course, you got the Avengers A, as well as the logo right there. The side of the package, you can see Thanos' name. One thing that's cool about this is that it's done up in this split sort of thing. You're not going to be able to see it here. Let me turn it off to the side because of how big this is. It's split here along the side. So like down here you have the Avengers A logo, and then you have the Infinity Gauntlet right there. And that's part of the inner package, not the slip sleeve. The back of the package, you got various warnings and things of that nature. And then of course, you slide this up, and like I said, that cut section in the outer sleeve, when you take it off, of course on the back here, you got that Avengers A logo and the cast and crew, but then again, you come around to the other side, and you got the, well again, you can't see it because it's so damn big. You got the foil Avengers logo there at the bottom. The top here has the Infinity Gauntlet. And then on the inside, or on the front of the package, God, this is so big, I'm sorry. You got the open window that fully showcases the figure. Of course, down here you have that Infinity Gauntlet as well. But packaging-wise, really large. Honestly, like, you shouldn't expect any less than that because this guy's massive. And for a lot of collectors, this is the look that we were hoping to get from the very beginning. But for the packaging on him, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the Mad Titan Thanos opened up and out of his packaging. Now, one of my initial gripes about the first release from Infinity War is that he didn't come with a lot. Well, they did rectify that with this one here. Albeit, a lot of the stuff are kind of reused, it still is really nicely appreciated. Now, in addition to the fisted hands that are currently on him, which I'm trying to... yeah, those are the same ones as well. I wasn't sure if those ones were different, but you do get a pair of weapon holding hands that you can see that would work obviously with his giant blade weapon. We didn't get these with the original release because he didn't hold any other weapons other than like the Infinity Gauntlet. So those are new. You get a pair of relaxed hands that, if memory serves correctly, he only came with a right hand in that previous release. So you now get a both right and left one. And then you get a pair of clinching hands. Now, these are reused as well. Coming in to take a closer look, this is the original release hands, and then this is the new one. You can see they are identical in terms of the sculpt, maybe a slightly different paint application. This one looks a little bit darker of a purple than the original one. That's true throughout the rest of the figure, and you'll see that here in the head sculpt. But sculpt-wise, it's the same. The only thing that's different is this piece, which literally just looks like it's an extra piece that's like glued on there. That's really it. I would bet you money that if I ripped that off, it would probably look like that on the underside. It doesn't bother me that much, honestly. I mean, it is what it is, but that is nice to see that we're getting more of them. Obviously, you want to have some display options, and giving him a bunch of hands works for it. The only real new one, though, like I said, are the right and left ones that are used for his bladed weapon. I don't know what you call it, but this thing is incredible. It's lighter than I thought. It's all out of plastic. I kind of thought that maybe they would have used some die cast in there, but I'm okay with it. But great detail on this thing. Now, this is how it appears before it is kind of broken by Scarlet Witch in the endgame. This is how he looks pretty much towards the beginning of that battle, or throughout the entire movie, really. But great detail on there. You can see paint-wise, absolutely gorgeous. While yes, it's not metal, Hot Toys has mastered the ability to put in detail in there that really makes it stand out and look like it's metal. That variation in the paint just is spectacular. You can see you got a slightly different paint on the bladed portion. You can see it's a little bit more shiny than the main section, and then even towards the edge you can see almost like where it's been sharpened over time. I mean, absolutely spectacular detail. You got a little black section here. The handle has a great amount of weathering as well. This has been a weapon that he has used clearly through many centuries. And then the opposite side, same thing. Now, the one thing that I would say about this, just zoomed in on his face. Spoiler alert, the random head. Now, the thing that kind of sucks is that Hot Toys has decided to go with a more rigid plastic. Some of the female figures have slightly more give in the hands. This is really tough to get in here. You literally have to like spread this out, which I don't like doing. I mean, it's a thicker plastic, so I'm sure it's a little bit more durable, but you have to really wedge that open to be able to force the hand in there. I really wish that they did it where you could separate this, maybe twist and rotate so that it locks in, because if you just pegged it in there, I mean, it is still fairly heavy. I mean, it may not hold it very well, but if they made it where you could like push it in and then twist to lock it in so that you could slide one end and then the other and then close this around, that would have been much better, because otherwise, like I said, you have to sit there and really wedge this, and it's not easy to do because you gotta force it, and then you gotta wedge this in there, and I don't want to damage anything, so it requires a little bit too much effort to get him to hold this. But this is absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, amazing amount of detail on there. Now, he also comes with two portraits, very much like the original one. Now I got the other one on there, but this is the original one, again, coming in to take a closer look. The only real difference that I'm seeing is a little bit lighter of a paint. That's about it. It's almost indistinguishable, but it's the exact same sculpt. I'm sorry. Okay, there. That makes it a little bit easier for you. But exact same sculpt. Like I said, just a little bit lighter, and then you can see like around the ball sack of a chin has less shading. But again, hardly noticeable, if you ask me. But then, like I said, he does come with the angry one as well. So you get an angry and the neutral one. So again, it's a reuse of the previous head sculpt. Doesn't bother me all that much because it was so incredibly accurate that it's perfectly fine. He does come with his helmet now. Again, absolute gorgeous paint detail on here. Plastic, but the weathering and the paint applications that they got in here really does make it look like it's metal. That is absolutely gorgeous all the way around. Very glossy gold paint that the rest of the suit has in addition. And then this fits on here perfectly. You do have some little pads on the inside, so you're not going to damage anything. All you do is you just put it on there. Perfect fit. It doesn't look oversized or anything. A lot of times Hot Toys does helmets where they have to be detached and then reassembled when you put it on there because it just looks weird. This works perfectly on him, and in addition to that, it can work because they're the exact same head sculpt. If you wanted to use that for your Infinity War one, you could. It works perfectly fine and the exact same. So I mentioned that because while yes, we are getting the exact same head sculpts between these two releases, the battle damage version of him, which is up for pre-order right now, does come with one new head sculpt. You do get the angry one with some battle damage, like some blood and everything like that. So that'll be the third use of that. But you also do get one that almost looks sad. So if you have that Infinity War one and then get that battle damage one, you're basically going to get all the exact same stuff that this one comes out with. It's just a later look for Thanos in Endgame. And this helmet can work with all of those heads, I'm assuming. Now, he also does come with the Infinity Gauntlet, which this is, I mean, amongst friends and everything, this is definitely one that I don't get, because the only time that he wore this while wearing this suit was the beginning of Infinity War. when he attacked Thor and the Asgardians. At that time, he only had the Power Stone, but then he got the Space Stone before killing Loki. So I have no idea why they decided to give this to us, because number one, when he was wearing the suit in Endgame, he never had it on this hand. He had the nano suit, or the nano gauntlet, whatever you want to call it, and he wore it on that hand. So the only thing I can think of is maybe they included this to give you a way to display him at the beginning of Infinity War. I don't know. It is something, but I'm not all that happy. You can remove this. That's something that's different. So you had this. This is the previous one. You got the arm and everything. This could not remove. At least this can now actually remove. So maybe now you could have a 1/6 scale version of this. Although they didn't really carry this around. Again, in Endgame, it was the nano one that, like, the good guys were battling around and carrying this and everything. So I don't know. It is what it is. Now you can see paint detail wise, it is a little bit different as well. Let me bring in this one more specifically. This is a lighter bronze color or gold than the previous one. Again, this one represents a older version, I guess, technically, than this. Although, I mean, again, I don't know why this would even be here. So I don't know. They did put a different paint detail on here. I think I would have liked it if they made it where the stones weren't on there. That would have been cool. But you can swap these out if you really wanted to. This is a little bit different than this one is. If I move this out of the way, because this is permanently attached, this is a little bit, like, the hand is the exact same, but the forearm piece is smaller on the new one. It only is noticeable barely, and honestly, I'm trying to see here if this one here is a little bit different. So this is the exact same as well. That didn't change at all. This is the only accessory really that the previous one came with that this one didn't. So they talked about how you did not want to leave this bent for an extended period of time. So they gave you an arm that was sculpted in this. It still had the rubber body on there, but it was molded in this way. You don't get this with the new one. This is only with that Infinity War version. You can still use this. I don't know if let me see. Oh, the arm is actually a little bit bigger as well. I'm trying to see. I mean, there's a little magnet piece in here that's on the inside of that. So his upper arm here is a little bit bigger. It doesn't fit on there. You kind of have to wedge that on there a little bit more. It stays on there via friction, but I wouldn't want to use that too much. And then this piece, I mean, if you have that Infinity War one, you can swap it because this whole piece is removable. So popping that out, you can, let me get him to stand a little bit better. You can take that off. This is just a little rubbery piece. I'm just gonna do some surgery here. All of this can remove. There we go. That actually is a whole separate peg thing on there. So you could do some part swapping, I suppose. Slide this down. Be careful as you're doing it. Get it over the bicep. And that's just a rubbery piece. I don't even know how you could get that on there, to be totally honest with you, because that's permanently attached. I mean, I guess, no. I mean, you could possibly do it. I don't want to force anything, but to just kind of illustrate this, if you really wanted, you can take this piece and plug that in there. There we go. So if you wanted to do that, you could. If you had both of the releases, you just wouldn't be able to put that bicep thing around there. So it's something that you can do because the arms are interchangeable, and I'm just really battle damaging him. I had his head off, all that stuff. So again, you can see that this piece actually detaches. So they did do a different thing with this, and then you got the articulation point in there, and then you would take, and let me put all this stuff back on there. Yeah, this goes towards the bottom, and then just fit this up around his bicep. And then, like I said, this piece actually magnetically attaches, which, oh no, so the magnet's on there, there's nothing, this is the other, let's see, yeah, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. No, that's the old one, so yeah, that's naturally not going to have, they didn't put a magnet in there, but that could go on there as well. So this is a new sort of thing, just like that. Put that around there, and then this piece will plug in there. So you can do that, but you can bend it, but again, they tell you not to leave it bent like that. So if you want to have it bent, you can do that and somehow figure out how to get all the other stuff on there. Like I said, you can take this, and this just kind of frictions. While there's not a actual magnet in there, I mean, that can just kind of friction on there, but again, be careful not to rub the paint too much. I don't know how you can get that bicep thing on there. Maybe heat it up and kind of bring it around if you really wanted to, but it's something that you can do if you do really want to. But I mean, again, I don't understand the point of it, because he never used this like that, and when he did, it was in Infinity War, and all of those weren't there. So I don't know. It's a nice additional accessory that I guess they didn't need to include with it, but I feel like it just artificially inflates the price when you don't need to have that, because it's not entirely accurate, I guess. So there's that. So then you put that, let's get this back in there. There we are. So there can be some part swapping, and this, you just attach this, put this on there if you want to have an open hand with the articulated fingers. Again, not very articulated. The base knuckles barely move, so you can't really, I mean, you can kind of get it looking like he's snapping, but again, he didn't snap when it was like this. It was that hand, and it was a different gauntlet. So maybe if you wanted to have this in Odin's trophy room, just sitting there, that's kind of cool. I mean, I do like that. So you have options if you wanted to swap things out with your previous version. And then finally, he does come with his display stand. Very long intro here. Sorry, guys. This one, I believe, has been used a lot with quarter scale figures. You have that nice Avengers Endgame logo right there, where the previously disintegrated A logo is now kind of reassembling of sorts. You got Thanos. I don't like how it's just this plastic. I like that previous chrome thing that they gave us, but you get this really heavy-duty cradle piece that just put down there, locks in, and then you have this much larger than his original one, which is nice. He is a little bit heavier of a figure because he's got more armor on him, but I don't know if you really necessarily needed one this big, but I do like it. It still looks pretty cool. But for his accessories, that's it. He does come with, like I said, a lot more, and I do appreciate it. Some of this stuff obviously are just reused pieces. We get his new bladed weapon, which is nice because this is a fully intact one, as opposed to the battle damage one, like I said, which will have a giant broken piece, which that'll be cool. But for his accessories, that's about it. Now coming in to take a closer look at Thanos himself. Now, as I said, the sculpt for the portrait is identical to what we got with that Infinity release. The only thing that is different would be the paint, and you probably wouldn't even notice it unless I mentioned it. It does have a slightly lighter purple tone to it, but it still looks absolutely incredible. A lot of times Hot Toys kind of perfects their sculpts over time. I don't think that they needed to do anything with this release. I mean, look at that eye. I mean, that is amazing. The eyes are super intense. And then even in the actual color of the skin, you can see slight variations in the purple with some like dots and stuff. I mean, really an amazing recreation of skin texture and tone. But it is, like I said, an identical sculpt to the previous version. What really changes is his outfit. You take a look at the armor, and I don't know for sure if this is exactly, I'm trying to keep everything in frame proper. I know that we did see this at the beginning of Infinity War, and I would imagine that this is armor that he's had for hundreds of years as he's gone through trying to bring balance to the universe. We saw him wearing this exact same outfit when he first met Gamora as a child, so it stands to reason that it's the exact same armor that he's worn throughout the years. But great detail on here as well. I love the slight paint variation here, almost giving it like a superheated metal sort of look. It's so hard to tell, but it carries over like in the gold, like in a rainbow sort of effect. I mean, that is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I really see it right there. I mean, that is super cool. A lot of wear on it as well. Again, they do an amazing job of putting in that variation with the different colors as well as the kind of battle marks, I guess, to give it a worn look. As I said, that these little pieces here can be attached via magnets. You can take that off if you really wanted to. I would imagine that that's something that they're going to do with the battle damage version, because towards the end of that battle, obviously Scarlet Witch kind of ripped off a lot of this armor, including these shoulder bits. So I'd imagine that that's removable for something like that. You look at his arms, and again, you got that great detail in the little bicep piece. You got this. One thing I like about this is you can kind of see that the way the lines work and kind of fitting into the not really a glove, but the hand guard, I guess. You can see the lines kind of match up, which does look cool. Getting absolutely gorgeous detail throughout it. You got these little soft rubber bits right here. Same detail on this. Now, obviously, when you bend it, you do get the exposed joint there, which is a little bit ugly, but, you know, whatever. Get this lifted up and out of the way. And then you take a look at the legs. Heavy armor on here. Not any real restrictions in the articulation because of it. Things kind of move, like these little pieces here. They're softer material as well. I don't think they're rubber, which is nice, so that'll kind of last. But as you can see, when you bring it down here, you have to be careful when you're going back up to make sure that that goes underneath the knee section, just like that. So you do have to be careful when you're kind of manipulating that around, but it's not complicated or anything. And then tremendous detail as well. Again, you got that rainbow effect. You got a lot of scratches. I mean, that's actually sculpted in there where that's a giant gash. I mean, that's really cool. It's on the other side as well. Then these boots, just massive, powerful, dingy, great detail with the feet here. And got even some little toe pivot right there. So tremendous amount of detail on this guy, and you can further that look by, like I said, taking the helmet and just fitting it on there like that. I mean, that is a cool look. Very similar to that helmeted head that we got with the Guardians of the Galaxy version, but obviously a little bit more refined and clearly more accurate to how it appeared in Endgame. Now for the comparison, here he is next to that previous released Infinity War version. And obviously looks-wise, there is a big difference. This is the suit that he was wearing, and then he took it off, and this is what he had underneath. In this incarnation, he has not yet gotten the Infinity Gauntlet, but again, if you wanted to take it and put it on there for that split second while he was wearing this and the Gauntlet, you could. Obviously, it's not going to be entirely accurate because the gemstones are on there. But again, really very cool. Now, ultimately, and a little bit of a spoiler, I am not going to keep this figure. The one that I want in my collection is that battle damaged one. This for me represents how he was in Infinity War. We only saw him wearing this briefly, but in Endgame, while he did wear this a lot, I just would prefer to have him with that much more battle damage look. The only thing that I would really want to keep, I would imagine, would be this, a fully intact bladed weapon, as opposed to the one we're getting with the battle damage one, which is, like I said, one that's damaged. But pretty much the same. Almost to the point where I would bet that the main body obviously the arms are the same. These are just added on. I don't even know if this can actually remove. I think that just slides on there. So I think this arm is the exact same as that, because this is permanently attached. This one has that ability to remove it. So I would imagine that this, the way that it attaches here, has been slightly altered so that the upper part of the arm is the same. And then they give you the gauntlet piece here that sits on the outside. So pretty much it is the exact same. They just modified things like this lower portion and then the outfit. So instead of this is what they put over the body. So I would imagine that that's the same. Not too much changes, I don't think. And then obviously his feet are probably going to be different because these ones are attached to the ball joint, so that's new too. So yeah, I mean, you do have a lot of new stuff on them. It's definitely one of those things where I don't understand why it takes so long to do this, because honestly, like, if the body's already done, the head sculpt's already done, why is it that difficult to take a CGI source material, make the suit? I don't know. But it's almost been like a year between these two releases, and I don't even know how long it's going to be before we get that battle damage one. First articulation, though, getting these kind of up and out of the way. The head does rotate. It is on a ball joint. You do want to be careful because you've got these little side bits right here. So if you're going to put it over there, lift up so it doesn't damage, rotate, and then you can kind of put it down. Although that does look weird. It's like, why would his jaw be over there? But you can do that. The shoulders here are on nice ratchet joints. They also move forward and back. They have a little bit of flex forward and back. Moving this out of the way. Because the arms are the same, you can bend them, and they do have a slight, well, does that one even? I don't even think that one does. This one had a slight rotation, I believe. Not even a lot. So you don't get a ton of range of motion with these, so I'm not going to force it too much. It does rotate because of that connection there, but you don't really need that because you can rotate the wrists. The waist here, it does rotate. You can hear the ratchet joint there, and it can flex forward and back on a ratchet joint, but that's all underneath there. I don't think there's a cut up here or anything, so it's all done like basically at his waist area. The hips do move forward and back. He's got a soft cloth material underneath there, so that flexes very nicely, does rotate. You do have the bend at the knee, actually two bends at the knee, but again, you got that little piece there, and then be careful with that, making sure that that fits underneath that knee piece when you're doing it, just to keep things nice and safe. Come down to the ankles. This is incredible. Big, huge range of motion with those. That's an amazing. I did not expect that much articulation in the ankles itself. That was a real nice surprise. And then the toes, I mean, you can also rotate around. Then you also got the toes that move forward and back. Great detail on the bottom of those little suckers as well. So really great release. It really is, despite the fact that I do have that previous one, it still looks amazing. What I will say though, and what I've already said, is that ultimately this is not the one that I'm going to want to keep for my in-game display. That's going to be the battle damaged one. This is still a great release, but it just makes me want that battle damage version that much more. Now, despite the fact that this is not the version of Thanos from Endgame that I want to have in my collection, it is still an absolute gorgeous release. In terms of the overall figure, not a lot is different. The head sculpts are reused, the hands are reused, the arms reused, the body's probably reused. But we do get a very accurate and well done looking armor. From his helmet all the way down to the body, it all looks absolutely fantastic. One minor complaint in setting up this pose, I couldn't actually use the holding hand like that because you couldn't get the joint to be bent down far enough, so I had to use one of his, like, the opposite of the gripping hand right here, and I had to kind of wedge his blade through there. So that's how he's holding it like that. There's just not much play in the elbow to be able to do that. But, you know, hey, I still got something like this. But for his other accessories, like these, I don't get. Other than like, oh look, I got myself a 1/6 scale Infinity Gauntlet. Yay. He did wear this briefly while also wearing that suit, as I said at the beginning of Infinity War. Problem is though, none of the stones were there. So I guess you could kind of still do that and just pretend like these stones aren't there. But this fits more with that Infinity War release. A clean version of him like this is still wonderful. And Hot Toys, much like all other toy companies, will maximize things as much as possible and release as many as they can using the same kind of molding. So when I knew we were going to get this, I knew we were going to get a battle damaged one. I guess it's a matter of personal preference though. For me, I'm going to keep that Infinity War one. I will probably get this one sold off, but I will be getting that battle damaged one, and both of those two will be in my permanent display. More than likely, I'll end up having to buy this off of eBay though, because I do like a full version like that. But all that being said, I do recommend them and think that this is another terrific release by Hot Toys. So if you'd like to pick up this version of Thanos, he will be hitting Big Bad Toy Store fairly soon. So for that, I'll put a link right down in the video description where you can go to BBTS and check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the wide range of Hot Toy figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Remember, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you would do one very small thing for me. And that's simply just to hit that thumbs up button. That one small gesture really does go a long way towards helping me out, and I would really appreciate it. Also, I want to send a huge shout out to all of my patrons, who through their continued support, now more than ever, help to make reviews like this possible. And finally, remember, the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a kid.